For the first time in a decade, the children's show Sesame Street will introduce a new Muppet on the air.
Her name is Julia, and she has autism. Julia is a shy 4-year-old with striking red hair and green eyes. Veteran puppeteer Stacy Gordon will play Julia. Julia's son is on the autism spectrum. Sesame Street has been developing the character of Julia for about 3 years. She'll make her television debut on April 10th. And parents of children with autism told officials at Sesame Street how important the show was for their kids.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, 1 in 68 children in the United States has autism. Segan Hartley is an assistant professor of human development and family studies at UW-Madison, and she is an expert on children with developmental disabilities. Segan, nice to see you. Welcome to Live at 4.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is very exciting news. What do you think this will mean for families that have children on the spectrum?
Absolutely. I mean, I see this as a big cultural shift. This is really the first time that we can present autism in a very positive light and reach really our youngest children. So I think it's a big opportunity to show Julia in a neighborhood where she's valued, and she's going to be a respected member, and she'll be friends with the other Muppets.
3 years to develop this character. What did they all do? Is it surprised it took that long, or are you happy it took that long?
No, I'm happy. I mean, I think whenever you want to display autism in a positive light, I think it takes a long time because you want to make sure you get it right. And I think they have been very thoughtful about making sure that they can present Julia as a character. And I think the goal long term is not to say that Julia is the Muppet with autism, but just to say this is Julia. And so I think they've really been thoughtful in a way to depict both Julia's strengths, but also the things she's going to struggle with, and how they can sort of depict it in a realistic way where people in her neighborhood are going to interact with her and become tolerant of these differences. These are not negative. These are okay.
This is especially exciting, I think, here in Madison because we are the epicenter of autism research. What do you think a character like Julia will be able to teach the rest of us about what it's like to live with autism?
Absolutely. I mean, I think this is, you know, I think for a lot of researchers like myself, it's so important to debunk myths that autism is something scary or that these are broken families. And so I think it's so important to have these images out there. I think a lot of times people will know, they'll have heard of the term autism, but they don't really understand what it means. And so they don't really have an understanding that often people on the spectrum have a different way of seeing the world and of interacting. But again, this doesn't mean that they're any less talented or they don't bring any less value to friendships and to our communities.
This is not the first autistic character to be on television. There's been other ones, but this is the first one aimed directly at children.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Well, I think it's so important because I think if we think about really wanting to shift worldviews and building tolerance, well, we can make great strides sort of dealing with these issues in terms of adult shows. I think we're going to see our biggest gains when we can get at young children. They're still at the time when they are framing their worldview. And so this now just helps them see that they're going to be interacting in a world where people are different from themselves, and that's okay. And in fact, I think embracing what people bring to the table and their differences makes us all stronger. And so I think doing that in terms of these really young kids is really a big stride forward.
The causes of autism are very controversial, and I know they're the subject of a lot of research. Is there any news on that front? I'm sure this isn't they won't get into this complicated topic on Sesame Street, but
absolutely.
Are there any, is that still the focus of a lot of the research?
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, I think the more we learn that it's not going to be a simple answer. We also learn that we're talking about autisms. So we're really talking about a bunch of people who have the same set of behaviors, but they probably got to these behaviors in different ways. So I think some forms of autism are going to be more genetic or epigenetics, meaning their genetics interacting with the environment. And so they're going to have different levels to which there are genetic etiology or environmental etiology and combinations. But I think it's pretty clear now that there's likely different pathways to getting to the same set of characteristics. And most people are not going to have gotten a single gene, so it's not like it's going to be a simple story of sort of one inherited gene. It's going to be pretty complex in most cases.
But working towards something. April 10th, the big day, Sesame Street.
April 10th is a big day,
Tune in for Julia. Thanks for being with us today.
Great to see you, Segan. Thank you so much.
Thank you.